Hello, everyone. Welcome to another episode of SLP's Wine and Cheese. I'm Maria, and welcome our guest, Jeannette Washington. Say hi.
Hello, hello. How are you all?
Well, I'm doing great, and I'm so excited that you're here. So, I want to tell the audience a little bit about you. So, Jeannette has worked as a speech language pathologist, software engineer, and educators. She empowers those with special abilities to pursue employment in the tech industry. Currently, she is the founder of Barely Articulating, and Jeannette also works within the intersection of technology, accessibility, and social justice. So that is a mouthful, Jeannette. Thank you so much for all that you do.
You are very welcome.
Yes, so I have a wine today. So I'm drinking this red wine. It's from Napa Valley, and it was gifted to us. Thank you so much, One Stop Wine Shop. And this wine is called Taken, and it's very delicious. I'm just going to keep on drinking it.
And me, on the other hand, I am practicing some vocal hygiene. I have my water here, 18 ounces. I've been trying to get all of the water in. I know how important it is, not only for our vocal hygiene, but just our body. All of the different organs need this universal solvent. So I'm trying to give it to
You're doing great. So I'm gonna
it.
I'm gonna drink to that.
I'll drink to that too.
Yes. Whereas she's drinking water to hydrate and nourish her body. I'm like, I have chosen. Actually, though, one glass of red wine is very healthy.
It's
So,
heart healthy. And I'm
that's
sure your body is happy all in all with that choice.
100% because I also like the social aspect of the wine. So, and I think that's when they say, research shows that wine helps to improve longevity. And I
Hmm.
think I know it's the tannins and there's like antioxidants and it's fermented. However, I think also the psychological aspect, which is difficult to measure in research. So it could be that external factor they're not thinking about.
Hmm.
So
Okay.
yeah, that's my argument for drinking.
You don't even need to argue with us
Yeah,
about drinking with the wine
I
because
don't.
we love the wine. All right. No excuses, no arguments, just sip away.
I am going to sip away, but I also knew that we were going to have this interview, and I went to the supermarket and I was like, ooh, what cheese will I have with Jeannette? So I picked,
Yay.
yeah, this creme de brie with garlic and herbs. So I'm
Mm.
having the brie cheese and the red wine.
Any kind of brie is okay with me.
Oh,
All
I love
right. I am a big cheesehead. No, I'm not from Wisconsin, but I love me some cheese. However, recently I found out that, I needed to cut back. Um,
munching away
so
from the mic. Go ahead. You had to cut back on cheese?
yeah, I've had to cut back. As an adult, oddly enough, I found that I have a lot of different intolerances and allergies that I never had prior to becoming an adult. So cheese is one of the things, or lactose actually, that is something that's not good for me frequently to have. So I'm trying to build up an aversion to it. So like cheese, yuck. But everybody knows that I am a cheesehead. So
I
it's a part of
see.
me.
Well, I think that you realizing that you love cheese, but maybe cheese doesn't love you.
Uh,
And now you're separating yourself from that relationship. That's a
hmm.
good thing. It might feel very difficult in the beginning, but I think you could totally do it.
Yeah, I just gotta unpackage all the trauma with cheese and just move away because it was toxic for me. So overall, we had to part ways. I learned a lot. It was a great experience, but I'm going to be moving towards that vegan cheese very soon,
Yeah.
and maybe that'll treat me better. Maybe we'll have some longevity in that. Who knows?
Vegan
I'm
cheese is,
optimistic.
yeah, vegan cheese is just across the aisle, right?
Come on.
Could always go to vegan, see what's back in dairy. What you got
Yeah.
options. That's all I'm
I
saying.
do. I do. And
Yeah.
if I want to dip back into the cheese just a little bit, kind of hey, how you doing? We'll see. We'll see.
I say get some free cheese samples. That's what I say.
That's always a win, right?
That was pre-COVID life, though. I'm living in the past, pre-COVID
Oh
life.
yeah, I
Yeah.
just thought about that. I've been even nervous about like buffet styles. I don't think I'm going to ever do the buffet life again, but that was a vibe at one point. But I don't
Yeah.
know if that'll be a vibe any longer.
Only time will tell. Listen, you don't
Oh,
have to make decisions about it now, right? You you'll deal with it when you get there.
yes,
That's
we'll
my
cross
approach.
that bridge when we get to it. There you go.
That's exactly what I was trying to say, but you nailed it. Awesome. So, Jeanette, today I really wanted to dig into this topic of dyslexia because you, in my eyes, I'll say, are the dyslexia expert.
Why,
I
thank
read,
you.
yes, I read how impressive your bio is, and I love this part. Jeanette can always be found tinkering or boasting the importance of accessibility, inclusivity, cognitive diversity, and equity in the tech industry.
That's my favorite part of the bio.
Me too. However, so I wanted to learn a lot more about dyslexia, and we could definitely bring up the topic of tech too
Okay.
and diversity and equity. So, first about dyslexia, I've looked up the research and you assisted me with that. You gave a great recommendation of dyslexiadia.com. The link is in the show notes. So, the population of individuals diagnosed with dyslexia, we found based off the research that boys are more
Hmm.
likely than girls. However, you do want to talk about that too.
Yes, I wanted to rebuff that particular statement.
Mm-hmm.
I know that there is research that shows boys typically have dyslexia um, at a higher rate than girls. However, boys present dyslexia a little differently than girls. If you can think of the adage where they say, girls suffer in silence, that's kind of where I am referencing. So little girls will, sit quietly, and they're so quiet in their classroom with their teacher that the teacher doesn't even think to call on them to read. Or when you have a class full of 30 kids, because a lot of times teachers are getting just ransacked with these packed classrooms, and so those students that are sitting quietly, you're going to just let them sit quietly. You're not going to try to rock the boat or anything. However, boys are going to be a little bit more rambunctious when it comes to asking them, hey, could you read this passage for me? Now they're going to just have a temper tantrum, and you may not know exactly where that's coming from, or they may start bothering another student and being kind of active in a sense. And that could all be stemming from the fact that they want to avert attention from reading or from doing an activity that involves maybe one of their challenges. So,
Right.
yeah, that's, as I was stating earlier, that's a entirely vast topic we could dive into, because there's this thing called adultification bias, where they show that little boys compared to their white counterparts, they could be behaving in the same manner. However, the boys of color will get stricter punishments, and that goes into that pipeline to prison. And I mean,
Right. Yes.
we could really go
I
there.
actually have a whole episode on that with my aunt, who's a criminal justice lawyer. She's been for since I've been born. She passed the bar
Oh
exam.
wow,
Yeah, for 33
big
years. So,
ups to it.
yeah, yes. So there's a whole episode about that. So I don't want to move around this topic, but I just still want to get through dyslexia too.
Yeah,
So let's just read it and just and
reel it on
strip
in, reel it
to,
on in.
yeah. So boys are more likely than girls, right? But the
Yes,
girls present differently for different
yes.
social reasons. You were
Mm-hmm.
saying racial reasons,
Yes.
right? Between male and female, so feminist reasons, teacher, different classrooms, so
Yep.
many
That
different
could certainly.
geographical, maybe, in certain
Hmm.
areas it's better for women to be calm and less talkative, where men it's more they should be more
Hmm.
talkative and more in that higher position, let's say, right?
Yeah.
So there's so many
It's a lot
subcategories.
of factors.
So
Agreed.
so many factors. However, so the incidence, though, that 1 in 5 people, right, you
Hmm.
said are
Yes.
diagnosed with dyslexia. Now,
Agreed.
you stated a fact of 80%, give or take,
Hmm.
some
But
percentages.
80% of students with an IEP has dyslexia. So within the school district, dyslexia is going to be named differently. You may see SLD, SLI. I've seen a whole variation of these different abbreviations or acronyms rather. And basically what they're saying is that person has a specific learning disability or learning disorder that they can't quite put their finger on, but they know it's there.
That is true. I've also seen other health impairment, OHI, but it could be like, oh,
Hmm.
but they also wear hearing aids, but it's not hearing impairment. So
Hmm.
again, a lot of factors.
Yes, and
It's
it's
gonna
it
be a
is all
theme. I
muddled.
I feel it. I need some wine for this
Hmm.
right now.
And there was a there was a
Right?
campaign going on with this grassroots organization called Decoding Dyslexia, and their campaign was say the name dyslexia,
Oh,
say it,
nice.
because it's so frequent that these different institutions and infrastructures use all of these different terms, and this only confuses the SLP, the OT, the
Yeah.
teacher, the PT. Everybody is
Right.
confused with this particular like title. So that was the whole campaign that they had, say dyslexia. And I thought that that was really interesting because only 3 to 4 states within the contiguous US don't have any dyslexia laws in place. So,
Wow.
I mean, I think that it is becoming a bigger conversation on the state level. Policy is being enacted so that students can stop falling through the cracks.
Okay.
So yeah, it's a lot of work that's being done on the back end, and it's exciting to see. But we do have those 3 to 4 states that need to jump on the bandwagon, so to speak.
Yeah, and I
So
like
they can
say
get
the
some.
names. Let's start with
Yes,
that. Yes. On
yes.
your Instagram, barely articulating, you had a great
Uh-huh.
definition where dyslexia is the absence of another of not vision, right? So it's
Yes.
important to keep in
So
mind that yes, go ahead. You want to give us a little bit of a
yeah, I'm gonna give just a little snapshot because I am in a lot of different like Facebook groups, parent groups, family groups where people express concerns and they express their inquiries as it relates to dyslexia. Because again, this is something we're still learning about. A
mm-hmm.
lot of controversy evolves around whether it is a visual disorder.
Mm.
And so we see that dyslexia can be, mixing up some letters and having issues with phonetically spelling words. But is it really a visual issue? So a lot of times parents say that once they use color overlays, their
Mm-hmm.
child was cured, or
Mm.
just anything as it relates to like maybe glasses with some tint in them help their child to be able to see those letters and pronounce those words. And so it's false. I think a lot of times we compare dyslexia to Arlene syndrome, and that particular syndrome is based on some visual challenges. So
Mm.
I think it's really important that we acknowledge that it is not a visual problem.
Yes,
Um,
thank you for acknowledging that. And it's
yeah,
also another important fact is dyslexia is not tied to IQ. Einstein was dyslexic and had an estimated IQ of 160. And then I read another fact that 25% of CEOs are dyslexic.
yeah.
So,
So as SLPs are doing evaluations for dyslexia, it's so important that they get these 8 things down packed. So
Ooh,
they want to get the case study and the family history, the language, oral and written, the reading, achievements, intelligence, articulation, motor skills, and social skills, in order to create a complete diagnosis and say, hey, we believe that this student has dyslexia. So with that in mind, it kind of echoes what you were saying about intelligence. So
yes.
usually those with dyslexia have an average to high IQ. So if that student is reporting a low IQ, we can already tell maybe this isn't dyslexia after all, because a lot of, as you said, tech professionals and entrepreneurs are dyslexic.
Right, because they have probably even higher IQ.
Yeah, an
So,
average to high IQ.
yes, so
And also another thing to know, and I know I'm just rambling on,
you're
just bear
not
with me
rambling.
because
You are
as we're
passionate about this topic, and it allows me more drinking time and eating brie and blueberries time. I didn't even get to talk
so
about my
jealous.
snacks. I'm
So
jealous. You know all this stuff. There we go. We can go back and
so it's
forth with this.
mutual. It's mutual. Okay. As it relates to those tech professionals and entrepreneurs, I think about the fact that a lot of dyslexic students go throughout their lives not knowing that they have dyslexia and struggling to a point where they have to create ways in which they learn how to read. So they have to re-engineer and hack the way that the teacher or the SLP or even the reading specialist is really working with them. Like they'll have to hack those tools and tricks and skills so they can learn and they can teach themselves.
That sounds like so much extra work.
Yes, it
Right?
is.
So they're
Now,
like, I know when the teacher points to this board, what she really means is that's the letter Q. Or I don't know if that was like an awful example, but like
yeah, but I mean, that's
I
a great
tried there.
point. It's so exhausting
That's
to
so
try to do
much.
it the regular way or the prescribed way, and you don't have these educational stakeholders who are steeped in dyslexia, like they don't really know about it. So they might just say, here, read a book. And then the student can't read that book. So then they get mad. Oh my gosh, why are you able to read it? Let me teach you this way, or let me teach you that way. And then all along, that student isn't understanding either way that they're trying to teach them. So they're spending and exerting more energy trying to learn and teach themselves. So you can only imagine by the time they become adults, they've re-engineered teaching.
Right.
They can do anything.
They do their
You
own
can
thing.
go ahead and create a Tech 100 company. Like you can do it.
Wow. Wow. That's just so much to take in there because that makes a lot of sense in a way that I did not think about. So the diagnosis, right? So I'm thinking in terms of an SLP. So I work in a
Okay.
school with special needs children, and how do let that's my setting, right? But let's say
Hmm.
someone who works in a school setting or even someone in preschool, like what are maybe some red flags or some indicators for an SLP? Like, someone listening to this podcast right now might be like, is this kid that I'm working with dyslexic?
Hmm.
Like, what are some of those like telltale signs?
Okay. So I think first and foremost, before you get a referral from a teacher, there are some things that need to be considered. I know a lot of times teachers are just like, oh, this student is giving me the blues. He needs to see a SLP. But beforehand, we need to make sure we're very meticulous about the information we're gathering. What do you want to say, Maria?
I'm just laughing.
Because that's how it happens. Like the teachers are overwhelmed, so they're like, hey, speech teacher, come on in here, can you can you
Come
get this,
on in.
can you
Come
take
sit
this
down.
student too with you? So it's important that we are keeping that paper trail and being meticulous about those indicators. And some of the indicators the teacher may have, that's not dyslexia, that's something else, ma'am, sir. That's something else. But
But
some
as
of
a
the
team
indicators,
approach, right, we want to do an accurate assessment, which you named all those
yes.
8, right?
Uh-huh. Yes,
It
yes.
was
That
motor. I'm trying to do them. So it's
Okay, it
Oral,
was family
right?
history,
Family
oral and
history,
written
oral.
assessment, reading, achievement, IQ, articulation, motor skills, and then social skills.
Okay. What's achievement? Like how, what grade they're in? If they've like, I don't know
Yeah,
that one.
I think that would be more on along the lines of gathering data from what they're doing in the classroom. Where are they at? You know, just getting that information from their homeroom
It
teacher.
might be, right?
And
I mean, if they're
that
a
may
remote
be a
student.
spelling test. That may be, a written activity you had them do. But getting that information and bringing that to the table is so important. Creating, I always say, keep that paper trail. You want to make sure you have all of this information documented, have a folder set up. So as you're looking through with that team of people, team of educators, or educational stakeholders, because they could be on any level within that, interdisciplinary almost team. We want to make sure we're getting all of those dots pointed and those I's, those
Yeah.
I's dotted and those
Sounds like
T's crossed. What kind of letters am I making up over here?
all the letters. Make sure all your ducks are in a row.
Yes, I like that better. And listen, I don't even have wine, and I'm over here getting tongue tied. Let me get my little water in. Hold on. Mm. All right, there we go.
There you
So
go.
indicators are going to include spelling phonetically and inconsistently, trouble with writing and copying. That's something that I see, and I'm like, if you write something on the board or you write something on, let's say you have a little whiteboard, you write something, and you're like, can you write this? And they're struggling early on, or especially after that second full year of them having instruction on grammar. So like when they're in the first grade and they're still struggling, and they've had kindergarten, maybe pre-K under their belt where they were doing some writing there too. So
Right.
that could be an indicator of difficulty putting thoughts into words, trouble with word retrieval.
Yes.
Just, like sometimes, and I know I get this way as well when I'm like thinking of the word and I'm like, I don't what am I trying to say? But difficulties with decoding, fluent word recognition if they're not able to recognize it with finesse it,
Like the sight
rapid
reading.
automation and naming. It's a lot of things that can really be the tipping point to help you see like, okay. And also I want you all to keep in mind that it varies by age. So Maria and I are talking about elementary students, but in middle school or high school, it could be a little more severe, especially if they're finding out that late in their academic journey.
Right. And that's what I'm thinking, that maybe these kids when they were 4, 5, 6, they're like, oh, it's attention, or oh,
Mm-hmm.
even like they need OT too, so it's handwriting. Let's say that's why
Okay.
that
Yep.
motor part is important too. Or the
Mm-hmm.
vision, once he gets glasses, maybe he'll improve. So I'm sure there's a lot of kids that do fall through the cracks, that by the time they are in high school, it's like, oh no, we like everyone has missed it,
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
right?
And I've heard some very tragic stories about people being like in high school and unable to read.
Yes,
That can't
I
be
know.
fun or good. So we gotta kind of focus on that early identification so that that early intervention can be that next segue.
So, what advice, if you may, since you're the expert, if there are
Hmm.
educators now who are in high school, right, and now they're like, "What about us?" I'm just picturing one
Yeah.
SLP driving to work right now, like, "But help me!" Like,
Help
like,
me, help me.
"Help me!" What
So
do we say to those SLPs that are
so I
working in
will,
the high schools?
yeah, and I know that that can definitely be trying. So I think that it's important that you implement. I'm going to give you some more strategies to
Yes,
implement with your sessions, and I'm going to give you some information to look up to. So you want to look up the Orton Gillingham Academy.
yes,
Orton
Orton
Gillingham
Gillingham.
is an approach that began from two experts. One was working in psychology, because we know that dyslexia is a neurological based language disorder.
Yes, thank you for
So
adding that.
yeah, and the first known instance of dyslexia was 1887. So Orton Gillingham has been the most researched approach that exists, and through it there has come programs like the Wilson letters. Let me think of some other one. Barton. It's about 58 different curriculums that have come from that Orton Gillingham approach. So some of the key things you want to think about when you are wanting to utilize an approach that's similar, and you're like, well, look, I can't go to the Orton Gillingham courses, but I want to still teach students in a manner in which is scientifically based and research based. So you want to make sure that your coursework or your lessons are repetitive, multi-sensory, incremental, sequential. Okay, so that's 4 that you can easily incorporate into any therapy session. Again, that's going to be repetitive. So you don't want to teach Johnny about a topic on Monday, and then on Tuesday, you're teaching them a whole different topic. We want to make sure we are circling back around, even if it's the first 5 minutes of our therapy session. Hey, remember what we discussed yesterday?
Right.
Like
continuation.
Continuation. Yes, that is so important.
Even if it's the same story we're reading. Like now we could talk about the characters.
Come on, that's reading comprehension right there.
A whole week of the characters. Even Fun Friday. Cut out pictures in this magazine that the character would like. I just made that up, but, well, we're talking for the high school, right? Think about
but I mean, it works. I remember now this was high school when I worked with this group of kids. I had about 3 kids, but I don't know if I should call them kids. You know, high schoolers feel a way about you calling them kids. But I remember individuals. I remember utilizing like current books, comic books, graphic novels, magazines, and we would just talk about things. And that first part of therapy is always that connection. Let's connect. Let's talk. So all in all, you want to make sure it is repetitive. Multisensory is going to definitely be based on all of our senses. Now, we can't use all 5 of our senses because we don't want to be eating in there too. But we want to make sure they see it.
Eating all the brie cheese, and she was like, "I don't want my kids doing what you're doing right now, Maria, eating all the cheese in front of me."
It was perfect timing for me to bring that up.
Anyway, so we don't want them eating.
But we want to use our multisensory skills. So we want to tackle all of the I'm going to say it's 3. So we want to tackle their vision, their hearing, and their manipulation. Okay.
So visual, gestural / tactile.
Yeah, I was going to say tactile. So that's going to be important when teaching a concept, making sure all 3 of those are locked and loaded. You know, we want to have activities where they can manipulate that tactile, that kinesthetic. We want to make sure they're seeing it, they're hearing it. It's so important. So that's going to be another important vocal or a really a focus point for us. Next, we want to make sure it's incremental and it's sequential. So those kind of go hand in hand. Incremental meaning basically if we see that they've mastered something, go ahead and slowly and steadily add a little more depth to that. Okay. We don't want to overwhelm them, but we can definitely say, oh, wow, you're doing such a great job. Here's a little bit more info. So yeah, as long as we are addressing those 4 different skill sets as we are providing therapy, I think that we'll be on a roll.
I agree. I like
Mhm.
that you mentioned multisensory, incremental, and sequential. Am I
Yep.
missing one?
And then it was one more. It was repetitive.
Repetitive. Yes,
Hmm.
those are very important to remember.
Yeah.
So so that's our tip for that was a lot of tips for our high schoolers or really I feel like that applies to everyone, but that was just our
Yeah.
yes.
We dropping all the gems for our SLP friends.
Of
We
course.
want to make sure you all are set up for success.
Yes, absolutely. So I actually want to ask about your book, right? You wrote a book,
Oh,
tech,
fun.
yes, technical difficulties. Why dyslexic oh my gosh,
You got it. You got it.
technical difficulties. Why dyslexic narratives matter in tech.
Yes. So I wrote this book after having traveled around the world, um, and going to different tech conferences and talking to people about dyslexia. And it's so random how I kind of fell into this space. So working as a SLP, I decided that I wanted to transition into more of a AAC, assistive technology space. So I learned how to code. And with learning how to code, I was like, oh, this is a brand new skill set and it's amazing. I can build websites and apps. And so it was pretty fulfilling. But I don't know why. So my friend was organizing a tech conference and he was like, why don't you just, put your head in? And I'm like, what am I going to talk about? So
Yeah.
I was just like, So I work with kids with dyslexia because that was like largely my population I found.
Mm,
And so I was like, I wonder if do a talk rather about the prevalency of dyslexia and technology and like what tools people could use or like whether or not there are, any instances of people in tech that have dyslexia. So I did a little
right.
research and I was like, oh, so
Turns
it's a
out
lot
they
of
do.
people.
Look,
It's a lot
look,
of people
you just
in tech
walked
with
into the
it.
right door. They're like, come on down, your new passion,
Yeah.
right through this door, combining tech and dyslexia. And
Yeah.
look
And
how
so
interesting this is at the
it
same time.
was, it was the right timing because once I pitched it, I got rave reviews. They were like, oh my gosh, we've never had anyone talk about this. I mean, the room was packed. I was like, oh, little old me. So
Yeah.
I'm one of those people where if I see something's working, I'm gonna keep trying it. So and that was in Detroit. Then I did another talk in Chicago. And then before you know it, I was in the Dominican Republic. I was in Nigeria. I was in Dubai. Like I was I was like, wait a
Take me
minute.
with you.
Everybody wants
Do you need a
to
buddy
know about this.
when you do all these? Well, now COVID
My friend
again.
was like, do you need a personal assistant? I can definitely help you. So I say that to say my book was birthed after all of these different talks I gave and all of these different opportunities that I witnessed or experienced and saw people who were like, oh my gosh, you spoke to me. So on the back of my book, it says, there's never been a better time to consider how your skills can be harnessed within the tech industry. Tech is driving change in almost every major industry, and so can you. Be on the front lines of solving important issues, re-engineering ecosystems, and contributing to meaningful change in society. The tech jobs of tomorrow require your narrative. After all, technology will only be as good as the people it does the least for. So that's it. You crack it open and it provides some really great resources to people who have dyslexia and they want to pursue careers in technology. And they're like, I know I
Perfect.
have this elephant weighing on me, and how
Right.
am I going to really utilize this and make a meaningful way of life for myself or locate gainful employment? So I
Right.
have some really cool infographics in here about how ADHD and dyslexia have very high comorbidity. And I
Yes.
have some info about, what's this, about how language, receptive and expressive, can all kind of present different indicators of dyslexia. And so, yeah, it's a really cool book. And I'm grateful that I was able to put it out into the world.
That's great. And they could purchase your book on Amazon if they.
Yes.
They,
Books, Barnes and Noble and Amazon currently have my book. So,
that's
yes.
great. So there, I'm going to include in the show notes the link to your website and
Okay.
your Instagram, Barely Articulating. Any other
Yes.
things that you wanted to plug?
Oh, I think that's kind of it for me. I'm going to be working on some really cool posters and stickers for my SLP friends and fam. So we
Love
will
the
see.
stickers. We need
Yeah,
some stickers
everybody's
in our
into the
lives.
stickers now.
Yeah,
Yeah,
same.
it's a thing.
We made some stickers as well. SLP's Wine and Cheese has some stickers. So look
I
out
need
for
some.
our.
What's going on?
We're gonna have to. We could just send each other stickers all the time. So
Yes, we
great, like
will. We will.
sticker exchange with SLP.
Let's do it.
So we like to share some tips and tricks. So I know you gave a lot of tips and tricks, but I'll go first. So
Hmm.
my tip, given everything that you mentioned about repetition and multisensory, I'm going to recommend to use a talking stick. And that could be anything. And I know now with COVID, we have to be careful what we're touching. So you might have to make it like just something that's easily Lysoled, or maybe you want to pass around hand sanitizer as you're talking stick.
Okay.
Right? And that
Why
helps
not?
give that visual and also that tactile of I am the one who's speaking, you are the other ones are listening, and it helps. So I think it's great for social groups, even one-to-one sessions, especially in the push-in classroom, right? Let's pass the talking stick to our friend, and what
Hmm.
do you think about that? So you could utilize a talking stick. So that's my tip.
I like talking stick. I'm here
Yes.
for it. And in that same vein, I am going to suggest some reading sticks. I actually have
Nice.
some pick-a-sticks over here where you pick a really cool motivational quote, reminder, or life hack. So the stick I just pulled, I'll pull another one. It says, read more, especially things you may disagree with.
Oh,
So I am going to use that as my trick tip to use a reading stick as you are utilizing print material, or to just have your learners grab a quote, reminder, or life hack.
I like that. Maybe you could use that for yourself too. So she just had
Yeah.
popsicle sticks, and they had stuff written on them that I guess you printed and wrote on there, and you
Yes. I
created
think
that
that's a good idea.
material. You created that
Hmm.
material yourself. So thank you for that. So Jeannette wanted to leave us with a quote. So I will let you have your
Yes.
quote time.
So every year I have a quote, or just a thought, a manifestation that I express. Last year, I think it was, the time will pass anyway. So for me, that represented the fact that, regardless if I decide to start today or if I start tomorrow, I need to start at some point, because that time is going to pass. I can either start something when I'm 25 or wait till I'm 35 and start it, like, which makes more sense. So this year, I am really harnessing this quote that I read. It said, and it's an oldie, so a lot of you may be hip to it already, but it was that you miss 100% of the shots you don't take. That to me is going to take me into 2021 with some purpose. So I'm
Great.
taking shots
You're
at
taking
every
shots.
chance I get. I'm taking shots, and if I miss a shot, that's fine. But
You tried.
I
At least you
tried.
tried.
I gave it my best shot. So I am going to empower all of you to embody that. Like, let's take shots.
Let's do
I'll drink
it.
to that.
Yeah,
Shot, shot, shot,
cheers.
shot, shot, shot.
Everybody. I just took a shot of the rest of
You
the
did?
wine. mean, after that, what was I going to leave? I mean,
I
there's a
mean, why
droplet
not?
left, but
Yeah, go ahead.
I had the last
Handle that.
droplet. I did. Jeannette, thank you so very much for coming on our podcast. You've been a plethora of knowledge and information.
Oh,
I
thank
would
you.
love to have you back if you wanted to delve more into the topic of diagnosing differences between the boys and the girls, because I know we had to
Yes.
take
I,
remember we had to swerve it back, but I
we
was
had to swerve.
we
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 had
can
to
come back.
put
You
the pedal to the metal on that and
exactly.
skirt out a little bit. So I think that'd be great. And then I'll do some research on my end so I can come with the numbers and come prepared.
Yes.
So
No,
yeah.
you're perfectly prepared. It's all in here. That's what I say sometimes. Listen, if you don't have it, you're like, I got it. It's all in here. It's all in your head. So you got all the material in your brain. So and you just let it out today. Thank you so very much for your information and bringing awareness to this diagnosis that many SLPs or educators or parents, students don't even know about. So thank you so much. Say the name dyslexia.
Yes, say the name.
Good night.